to get started, and the flow of the training will be everybody's on mute. I'm going to go through my training about the supplier side. It's both a discussion about the application and then about the process. At the end, I will open up the phone calls or the bridge for questions. So everybody knows that Sabre, we have airline, we have the TN side, we have hospitality. Sabre Hotel RFP sits in the Sabre Hospitality, the SHS section. It's done very well because of automation efficiency. We have a very simple turnkey solution. We have great support service that's in class there. Everybody loves our support. If you've ever worked on the transient side with Hotel RFP, you've dealt with our support, very responsive to questions, issues, anything that you might come across in the application. We'll try to support you as quickly as possible. One of the things is in the transient RFP side, we do about 2,000 RFPs a year, about 10 million unique requests, which is about $11 billion in corporate spend. So that's what the Consortia RFP application is built on, is that platform. Sabre also owns Nexus, so while that won't be really discussed in this call, anybody that does use Nexus, we are working towards integrating their functionality into an overall Sabre platform. So that's more just of an FYI. So the next page is why are agencies signing up and purchasing Consortia RFP? And really, like I stated a minute ago, we tried to listen to the market. We've had conversations with dozens of consortias, what their needs are, what their pain points are, and designed our application on a market-based need. So there's design to that specification, the flow. There's great efficiency. It's a GBTA client, GBTA compliant. So responding back is a standard. It's a 717 field question. What has been selected by the consortia. So there's not a new format or a new process that you have to worry about. Part of the process is you can upload a full file. Any field that has not been requested just gets ignored so that you don't have to have custom formats for each consortia. And as I stated, superior service, very efficient and portable. Now, on the supplier side, the feedback that we've gotten so far is as I stated, it's very familiar. It's based off the transient side. It's a very simple process. Everybody knows what the GBTA format is. And because Sabre's been around and Hotel RFP's been around, the flow and the process it's consistent with what most chains have been doing. The only change, which I'll go into in this next slide, is where you're going to be ultimately uploading your response. So what has changed in the market? So pre-Consortia RFP, everybody knows for the last 10, 20 years, a consortia creates a program and they release it. The chains then, wherever their system of record is, be it Lanyon, an internal system, Nexus, wherever that is, they would go in, they would generate the responses, and then depending on where the opportunity originated, they would then respond back to the appropriate place. If it was in Lanyon, or if it was zipping it up and emailing it to the consortia, or if it was going to a website for that consortia and loading the file there, everybody knows where they need to ultimately submit the responses. That's how it's worked. In reality, nothing has changed except now there's another option of where you go to upload your responses or to provide your responses. So once again, consortia create their RFPs, a questionnaire, they release it, change then review, wherever their system of record is, they're still going to use it. If you use Lanyon, you'll use Lanyon. If you use Nexus, you use Nexus. If you have your own internal system, you'll use that. You have to create the file format, make sure that that's correct, that the questionnaire is developed, mapped correctly. If you're in Lanyon, you'll have to reach out to Lanyon to find out if they have created the template or not for that consortia. Then in reality at that point, if you are using your internal system, you're using Nexus or Lanyon, the process is business as usual, which is I'm going to gather my responses for all of my hotels. I'm going to create a response file. While you might do this 2, 3, 4 times, because nobody ever gets all of their hotels usually in the first response. The only change at that point is, and you're working on the Amex solicitation, instead of zipping it up and emailing it or leaving it in Lanyon, now what the process is you will have a solicitation email out of Sabre Hotel RFP, the Consortia RFP portal, and you'll have a login. You will then log into that site, and then you will upload that file. It needs to be either a .csv or a .text file. That's really the only impact in the world for the change, is where the ultimate upload happens. Your solicitation might come out of a different system, but you're still getting solicited. You're still getting notified. You're still generating a mapping or filling in the questionnaires for all your hotels, and you're creating a response file. None of that changes. It is really as simple as you just need to know that for those that are using Consortia RFP, Amex, and others that are signing up, you will just need to come into the supplier site portal for the Sabre Hotel RFP application and upload it. So let's talk about what the solicitation looks like. So because this is market-driven, we have a little bit of a unique opportunity, solicitation opportunity. One of the things that we hear from the change side is, I don't want my individual hotels to be solicited. So what we've created is a chain-level opportunity. And what that means is the consortia will select the chain, apply a contact to solicit, but they are not going to add or select any individual hotels. And you will get a notification. You will be able to log in and be able to see in a GUI presentation in the computer the file, the mapping, the questionnaire, the layout. You'll also be able to download that into an Excel file so that you can have that as a baseline of what the mapping, the questionnaire is. It'll tell you both in the screen and also in the Excel spreadsheet what are the mandated questions in the GUI. They'll be highlighted yellow. If there are any required, which for Amex there's not, I believe there's not even any custom questions, if I remember correctly. So it's very simple. Basically, you just need to know what questions have been exposed to you that she's asking, and you need to fill in those and build your response file and submit it back in. So what is easy on your part is that for a chain level bid, you on the supplier side and the tool will be able to upload your file, and it will actually load all of those hotels to your bid page so that you can respond back. So you don't have to worry about selecting or adding hotels inside the application. Your upload will do that for you. So we believe that the chain level functionality is very efficient. Amex and other consortia don't have to worry about how many hotels you have or which hotels. For those that consortia that do come on in the future that have a premier program where they are doing the selection, what they probably will do is what's called a NAM, which if you've ever worked on a transient side, that's the terminology for the solicitation for the transient RFP tool. It's a NAM level bid, which basically means that I, as the consortia, select specific hotels, and then I assign them to one contact, and so that contact gets one email that says, hey, these hotels have been solicited. In the tool, it does not stop you from the consortia RFP side to add hotels. What we train on, and as a best practice, is if you have a consortia in the hotel RFP application that is doing a premier and it's an invitation only, and you want to add other hotels, you need to pick up the phone or send an email, say, hey, I have other hotels, which should be business as usual, regardless of what tool you've used in the past or what tool the consortia has used in that type of bid. In Amex specifically, the base or the GBT program, it's not a preferred program, so you probably more than likely most contacts are going to get a chain level bid. So hopefully that, and I'll reiterate this more through the training, but it's a solicitation, and in the solicitation you will have a hyperlink. So this is the top part, or the full view of the solicitation. It'll have your name. It'll tell you what the consortia is that's inviting you. It'll tell you in the first paragraph when the due date is. We repeat that information in the grid. So you'll see the client name, the name of the RFP, the start due date, and the date that the consortia is asking you to respond. Depending on, once again, if there are hotels here, it would change between a chain or a NAM level bid. And then this hyperlink here provides you an encrypted login password. So if you've never logged into the Sabre Hotel RFP portal side, the supplier side, when she adds you to the selection list, the system will create a login and password. This hyperlink will get you right into the system, so you don't even need to know what your login is. In the tool, you would be able to update it in the admin area so that you can remember what your login is. So I'll go through that at the very end of the conversation. So this is what the solicitation from Sabre will look like for Amex. It'll say Amex. You'll see there are consortia title, the date that Danny selects, the date that you need to respond back for. So once you get this is the kickoff, which in the consortia world, chains and consortia are always in conversations. So you know when that's happening. Danny's already had calls, talked to most of the chains on the program for the upcoming year. So next is the actual tool. So in the actual tool on the Sabre Hotel RFP supplier side, we have created a new what's called consortia portal. In there, when you click on it, you're going to land on what's called an opportunities tab. In the opportunities tab, it's going to list any and all consortia that you have received out of the Hotel RFP consortia application. So you'll see one or more lines, and this is just a summary of opportunities that your chain has been solicited at, and it'll tell you the client name, the program, start end dates. It looks a lot like the email, but there's some actions at the right-hand side. What we've created is number one is an icon that's called the consortia, the preview icon. You can click on that and actually see the questionnaire, and it will be color-coded, so the mandated questions will be highlighted in yellow, which there are none for Amex, but if there are any required, which basically means a question that it has a specific answer, you have to answer a certain way or the system's going to give you an error, would be colored in blue. This is also defined in the email export that you can download, so I'll go through that in just a second. The second icon is where you actually dive into that specific opportunity, that consortia's opportunity, where you would do the upload file for responses. So this is the important review. We call it the review icon, which is when you're at a chain level bid and you click on the review icon, you go into what's called a program tab, and there'll be nothing there. In the top left hand, you'll see a little drop down, and you'll see the consortia name, the program name, and there'll be nothing there. At the very bottom left, there'll be a pull down, which I'll show you in a minute, where you would click on upload responses. You upload it, the system picks up new files every 15 minutes. It'll process, it'll send you an email when it does it. It'll tell you if there's any errors or if your upload was successful 100%. Next is a decline. So what we tried to imagine and think about is in the future, if consortias grow and there's more opportunities and they've signed up in Sabre's Consortia RFP tool, and you get a solicitation, and none of your hotels want to participate at all, you can decline at a chain level. And it basically just tells the consortia, thanks, but we've declined for this reason not to participate, and that way you've closed the communication loop. Next is what's called a participation detail. So in our custom questions, consortias have the ability to create what's called a participation question. And basically what it says is, which level would you like to participate? And they name them, they put a dollar amount, and then they put some definition of what that program includes. We give you a very simple summary, and I'll show you this in a minute in the tool. And then lastly is the buyer contact details. So if you need to know in the email of who sent it, you click on the person, and we provide the name and number that generated the opportunity. So the big question that we get is about mapping and about, hey, I'm using Lanyon. How do I know that if I create this consortia RFP that it's right, or in my internal system that it's right? What we're training to as a best practice is when you get the solicitation and you go into the preview, you can download the Excel file. In there, it shows you the number, or in an Excel spreadsheet, the columns of the questions that have been added to the questionnaire. Below that, there'll be a section that says mandated, and it will tell you the specific columns that are mandated. And then lastly, there'll be a section that says required. If there are any required questions, it'll tell you the specific questions. What we suggest is that you go and you build the mapping for the questionnaire, and then you select one of your hotels, generate just a response. Doesn't have to be 100% valid, but that you meet all the criteria of mandated questions are not blank, all of that. And then in the hotel RFP supplier side, you would upload that single hotel to see if you got any errors. That way, you're doing a test file. You could do 1 or 5 hotels. It doesn't really matter. You do 1 for each brand, however you want to do it. And you can upload those responses, see if you get any errors. If you don't, you know that your file mapping is correct, that if you have similar answers for all the hotels that you just did, that when you come back for the full file, it will upload with no issues. When you do your initial test upload for that 1 hotel or 5 hotels, there's a second pull down that says send responses. You won't do that. You'll just upload. When you get done with that and you see what the responses are, you can then technically delete those hotels, clear out your bid page, and then you start fresh, going back to your system of record, creating all of the response files for all the hotels you want to include in the consortia, and then you'll come back at some future point with that larger file and do the same process. This email address says Consortia RFP support. So the hotel RFP support is for our transient side. But yes, you will have a specific Consortia RFP support email for any issues in the system or questions that you have in the process. So this file layout, like I said, is from the preview on the opportunities page. You click the preview icon, and then you'll download that GBTA file format. Once again, you can do a full file. So if out of the 717 questions that Amex, say they display 300 of them, you can still do the full 717. All of the other question questions will basically just be ignored. You can have data in there. You can have whatever information you want, and because it's not being requested to be displayed or to be utilized, the system just ignores it. We believe that's an efficiency for your side so that you don't have to have custom formats for every consortium. So you could have technically one file layout, and then just make sure that the custom questions, the required questions, and the mandatory questions, mandated questions, are all met for that specific consortium. So hopefully that makes sense. So let me go to the next slide here. Uploading a response. How difficult is it going to be for you to respond in the system? And it really is simple and straightforward. You get a solicitation that I showed you earlier. You go into your systems and you create the file layouts, the mapping. You generate the answers for all the hotels you want to include. If it's 1 or 3,000 or 5,000 hotels, you create that response file. You save it into a .csv file or a .txt file, and then you click on the email and you hyperlink into Sabre Hotel RFP, the consortia portal. At that point, when I was talking to you about the program tab, you'll see here it says Demo Program 1. You'll just need to verify that it's the right consortia that you want to upload for. So it should say Amex something. And then down at the bottom, you'll notice there's no hotels listed. You'll go and click on Upload Response. And at that point, it'll give you a little pop-up. You'll select the .csv, .txt file, wherever it's located on your computer, and you'll hit Upload. And then the system will pick it up, and it doesn't pick up every 15 minutes in the system. And you wait for a response. You'll get an email. So in all reality, you could do the upload, you could log out, go do whatever else work you want. At some point, you're going to get an email saying, here's the response file, the responses to that upload. This is what the email will look like. Sabre Hotel RFP admin, your upload was successful. So it'll tell you what program you uploaded it for, what the name of your file was. In this example here, it says I uploaded 5 hotels. Any errors was 0. So I had a successful upload of all my responses. At that point, you would need to go back into the system to send the responses. So you would go and you would select all those hotels, and you would click on that drop down, and you would hit send, and you would be done. That's not a burdensome process when it comes to responding in our system. So what does it look like when you have a partial success or failure? So once again, it will start giving you an error message. So it'll tell you how many hotels processed correctly and then how many had errors. And in this scenario, example that I have here, the HOD, the Sabre HOD is missing. So it's not going to tell you the actual hotel because you didn't, say in my example, I left it blank. But it's telling me the rows on my spreadsheet that had errors. So we tried to direct you to the specific area that had areas. Then if you have a full error, I loaded 25, all of them failed. So in this scenario, you'll see issues with property. This is a mocked up, a test account, so that's why it's not a true Sabre GDS number. But it will tell you the Sabre GDS number, so you'll know which line item on your spreadsheet you need to go deal with. It will tell you the column number or the questionnaire, and it will tell you what the error is. So in this example here, this was part of a required question, which basically said, I, as the consortia, you have to provide wireless at less than $20. So it should be part of the PDF and all of the file layout. You should know what the requirements are. In this example, this consortia was saying you don't have to be part of my price, but you have to give it under $20. And there, in that hotel, there was a dollar amount for question 226 that was greater than $20. The next one, basically the 229 basically said that airport transportation had to be included in the rate. So on that question with a yes or no, it was selected no. So it drives you to the line item, the line for the hotel, and the column or the question that is error to show you what needs to be fixed. So we hope that this is a very clear, straightforward process that if there are any errors, and that is why we train to the best practice for you to do a test hotel or hotels when you create your program and whatever your system of record is, take a hotel or two, create responses, create that CSV file, that TXT file, come in the system and upload it, and see if you get a successful, partially successful, or an error or failed email. And once you fix those things, you have confidence that your accumulation of data in your system of record should not cause any errors when you do the full load later in the future. So that is the actual presentation that I wanted to go through. What I'm going to go through here is the actual website, the Sabre Hotel RFP. So when you clicked on that email that was the solicitation, it's going to hyperlink you into what's called the dashboard page. This is our transient RFP side. So what you'll see at the very right is what's called Consortia Portal. You'll click on it, and you'll land what's called on an Opportunities tab, solicitations out of the Consortia RFP tool for these clients or travel buyers or consortias. And then the consortia names, start and end date, and due date. All of these I've worked at some point. That's why there's some hotels solicited. A lot of these were chain-level bids. But you'll see here as you roll over, you'll see the preview, the review, the decline, the participation, and the contact details. This is the preview. So this is the cover letter. Once again, this is a presentation on the computer of the questionnaire. We tell you that mandated questions are highlighted in yellow and required questions, and if you need to know what those are, there's rollovers of what each of those are. And it tells you, as everybody knows, mandated questions can't be left blank. And you can go through and visually look at, read all the questions. A future development is to create a print or save so that you can save this. Technically, if in your internet, whatever browser you're using, you can print this out. It's not going to be technically all that pretty. But in the future, you will have the ability to either save this view or print it out so that you can have a color copy. The download file format is what I was talking about earlier. So when you click on the download file format, it actually presents in that Excel spreadsheet the full questionnaire. And it goes all the way down, and there's no custom questions here, but it will work through all of the questions. So it downloads it into a .csv file, and this is what I was telling you earlier, that here across the top will be the questions. So you'll see here all of the questions that were displayed. Underneath this, it will tell you mandated questions and what those questions are, if there are any required questions, and if there's any amenities that have requirements for them. As I showed you in that error file earlier, that if they require breakfast to be included in the rate, or if they require transportation to be X number of dollars or less, we define all of that out. This is what you can save to make sure that your file layout is correct. So once you get done with preview and you go in to creating your test file, what you can do is make sure that it's the correct consortia. You'll come in and you let's see, let's just remove this from list. And you'll not have any hotels displaying. Basically, you'll go here and you'll click on upload. It'll give you a pop-up. You can choose a file. So this is just a random one that's going to error out, but just to show you what happens, you'll get a message that says, I'll upload it successfully. You'll get an email. At this point, like I said, the system will pick up the file every 15 minutes. And you can log out, do other things. When you get your file response, the email response, that will tell you your next steps and what you need to do. Also, we will keep track in the admin area of all your uploads. So if you lose an email, what I showed you earlier on the display of the email for success or fail will be captured here. So we'll keep 15 days of activity so that you know however many you upload. You either have the email or you can go here to the admin. Once that is processed, and it's successful, then let me go back to, once you are done and you have your test file, I was looking, so this is one that I've uploaded. At that point that you've uploaded the responses, all you have to do is click select all those hotels, and then send response. And at that point, your status will change to that, opportunity responded to, and it'll say reply to. That gives you the indication that you have successfully pushed the answers for all the hotels you want to include to Amex. And at that point, you're done until Danny completes and accepts, and you get notification that the hotels are included in the program. I appreciate everybody's time, and I will wrap up the call now, and everybody have a great rest of the day or evening. Thank you.